All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you guys and gals back. Let me go ahead and grab the bias chart. We're going to get through our analysis. So let's start off with the euro dollar. Let's get over there. All right, so here's the euro. So we are closing in on some support here. We're at the 111.50. This is obvious support. You noted it last night too on the live market alerts on the forex wrap. Notice that the euro dollar should have support tonight at 111.50. That was written last night. We went as low as 111.49 and 0.8 of a pip. So I was off of 0.2 of a pip last night when I wrote that. But as you can see, if we break through 111.50, we should attack 111.20, which I think we need to write down today, actually. So now remember, this is a bearish wedge. All right, so let's just note that 111. Well, we'll write down both 111. The analysis is really easy today on the euro. Actually, let's go back over here. 111.20 is key because that's the wedge support, right? Now we may very easily break that, but the question is, how do we react when we get down here to 111.20? Okay. Now let's also note that we have this uptrend line. Okay. Just in the event that we break down through here, I don't think we're going to do it today, but the dollar is making strides against a lot of currencies. So if the support breaks, then we might get a flush down to 110.70. I just don't think that's happening today. But what's one thing? I'm going to ask you guys this question. You can just give me one word answer. What do you think could be the catalyst that breaks us below here? What do you guys think? What could be the catalyst that drives us below here? Michael, correct. Scott, correct. Benedict, correct. Got a lot of you didn't answer what I was looking for. Dan, correct. A breakdown in gold could be the catalyst that drives us below here. If you notice, gold you notice gold, very similar pattern, right? If gold breaks at 1300, do you think the euro is going to break below 11.25? Right? So watch gold today. I think gold's gold's on the ropes. It's on the ropes. It's really close to support here. So anyway, yeah, I think gold is the catalyst that could actually break us below here. Some of you answered like Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank, I don't know if the attention, I mean, obviously if Deutsche Bank breaks back below like 11 bucks in US dollar terms, we might actually see a breakdown too. I think it's actually gold that would be a catalyst. Woo! Okay, resistance right now is 112.50. Took me a while to get to bed last night. You guys probably, could attest to this. I sleep better when it's cooler, when it's when so when it's cold at night, I usually sleep better. Um, but when we're like in that in between weather for us, so like outside it's like 80 degrees, so 80 degrees, mid 70s. So the 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 air conditioning doesn't kick on as much. So when I'm trying to go to bed, it's like kind of not like cool. It's cool enough to not kick on the air conditioning, but it's not like cold, cold. Um, so I actually, but it's like that in between weather, So I had to go crank down the air conditioning last night to make it a little cooler, and I finally fell asleep after that. But man, it took me a while. Okay, so let's go over. Yeah, not like you guys need to hear all this, but that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. Oh, I'm tired, so if I yawn, like that, like that. That's why I'm yawning. Okay, so the pound is breaking lower. Obviously, we've when we broke 129 yesterday, that was it. That was like this blue trend line. That was the catalyst. And I did short the pound yesterday, and I am short at I have not added, and I'm short at well, I actually added yesterday, but I'm short at 128.70. We're at 127.46. I don't think selling the pound right now makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I would buy it. I don't think there's any reason to be a buyer at this point. But what I would be thinking is now any move up to 128 would be a selling opportunity. So if you get an opportunity, whoops, let's do this. If you get an opportunity to sell the pound at 128, that's the way to do it. Because if we make a move back to 128, I'm adding. Okay, so 128.10, 128.10. I wanted to put that as bearish. And support. Let's figure out where support is. We're obviously we're getting a little oversold, so you got to be careful shorting the cable here. Like I said, I don't think it's the right time. I don't think you should necessarily be a buyer right now. I just, don't know if I would be shorting as we're falling. So of this move up, the last leg higher that we had, 127% comes in at 127.07. So I'm going to write down 127.10. That should hold the decline today. Okay. All right. Dollar Swiss. Here's the dollar Swiss. We are now we're approaching all sorts of here. Let's get rid of these fibs. We're approaching all sorts of resistance. Now I'm long from yesterday, from the morning edge. Soren says, move to Ireland. It's always cold. No need for an air conditioner ever. Man, climate change. You know what's going to happen, Soren? In about 50 years from now, in Arizona, it's going to be like snowing in the summertime. And in Ireland, you guys are going to be dry as a desert. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. All right. So from here. This is going to be really key resistance today. 98.12. All right, now channel resistance is going to be somewhere in this neighborhood too. So I'm going to write down 98. Did I say 98.12? 98.20. Sorry, 98.20.9820. I think that's going to be major resistance today. Now, your first question that you're going to ask me, I'm sure, is, hey, Blake, are you going to sell your dollar Swiss when you get up there? The answer to that question is, I don't know. I don't know because I want to keep dollar long exposure going into this week if I can. So if I can keep dollar long exposure going into non-farm payroll, I want to. It's just, you know, does it make sense to take some profits up here? It does, because the dollar hasn't broken out yet, all right? Because we're obviously in a range. Support will be strong on any move back down to 97.40. If you guys are looking for longs, 740. Okay. Okay, let's go over to the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, is breaking higher. Now, the question is, how far are we going to go here? Gary said West Australia just had the coldest September on record. Really? Wow. Crazy, huh? That's nuts. Oh, that tripped me out big time when I was in Australia, and it was I went in like November, and you know, there's Christmas stuff all over the place. You know, Santa Claus sleighs, and you know, obviously it was summertime. And I was like, you know, I'm sitting there sweating my ass off. It's so interesting. 'Cause you know, you know, growing up in Phoenix, we have very similar situation where it's, you know, it's Christmas and you're wearing, you know, shorts and a sweatshirt. So, but Australia always tripped me out. Being there was kind of weird. Uh, Gary says Christmas is a barbecue on the beach. Yeah, and, you know, in Phoenix, Christmas we barbecue a lot too. You know, not on a beach, but it's always nice and sunny. Okay, sorry. Resistance. Okay, so we're in a dollar yen. Resistance here is going to be that spike high, which is 102.70. What's this high? 75, 78. So 102.75 should offer good resistance today. Okay, that should be pretty good resistance. It's a 618 retracement. It is, you know, about a 618 retracement. Yeah. You know, it's a spike high from over here. And any dip now down to 100.80, you want to be a buyer. Oh, 101.80, 101.0, you want to be a buyer, okay? And we're bullish near term, but we're actually going into a bigger, you know, range. So we find, well, look, this is crazy, guys. So if for those of you that are normally listening to the Morning Edge, and you have been for the last, you know, 6 months, 10 months, we've had a bearish designation on the dollar yen for how long? Pretty much every day. I would say 80% of the time since the beginning of the year, we've had a bearish designation. Right? 80% of the time, this had been bearish on the dollar yen. How weird is it to see the dollar yen with a bullish designation? Right? Crazy. Okay. So I'm looking around some stuff. All right, let's go over to the dollar CAD. So the Canadian's in its own world right now. The dollar Canadian, although we had a nice little lift overnight out of this little triangle here, the thing about the dollar Canadian, the reason why it's not rallying more is because crude oil is stubbornly close to 49 bucks. Now, crude, we're not sure if it's going to break $49, but if it breaks 49 bucks, that'd be pretty bullish, you know. So if you take a look at crude oil, okay. And you have your major, inverted head and shoulder pattern neckline. I mean, we're at it basically, and we're at horizontal resistance, right? You look on, you look at the front month contract, and we're already breaking out, right? But the continuous contract, just keep in mind that we're up against resistance, and we're basically on this trend line. Now, the question that I'm asking myself is, are we going to break out here in crude? Because if we do, that dollar Canadian is not going to go higher. Dollar Canadian should actually move lower. The Canadian should strengthen. So that will keep us range bound here. Okay. Now, I'm not sure what to do with the Canadian right now. I really don't know. I don't think there's a lot to do at the moment. Since the dollar's well bid against, the pound and the euro and the Swissy and the yen, I have a hard time shorting the Canadian right now. I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do, but I also don't know if I want to go long with crude oil as strong as it is. So buying the dollar Canadian on a dip back to 131 makes sense, right? Selling the dollar Canadian up here at 132.50 makes a lot of sense too. Trading the dollar Canadian right at this moment, I don't see the reason to do it. So 131 is support, 132.50-ish is major resistance. I say ish because, we've obviously been a little higher than that. But I still think that this is all major resistance, minus the spikes. It's all here, it's all here. So trading the Canadian up there or down here makes more sense. Not doing anything with it at the moment just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay. Let's do the Kiwi really quick. So the Kiwi is pretty well bid. We had a spike above 73 cents yesterday, last night in Asian trade. Dairy auction results come out today, so that I think is what, it will be a mover today for the Kiwi. After last week's or 2 weeks ago, the pullback in dairy auction prices, even though it's still positive, it was pretty weak. Actually, let's take a look at. Let me look at something really fast. Uh, All right. I'll try to pull up milk futures a little bit later. Okay, so anyway, I'd like to see what milk's doing. I have to go look at some of those futures contracts. But anyway, I think any rally to 73, this spike high right here. So let's get rid of this. Remove that. So any spike up to 73, 30, 73.30 would be a short, and then obviously, you can look to cover up some shorts down here at 72 cents. So, oops, 73.30. This is major support. This is range. This is still bearish. While we're below the red trend line. Okay. Still developing that head and shoulder pattern too, by the way. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll wrap up the Aussie, dollar index, peso, Swedish krona, Norwegian krona. I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. Okay, Swissy just hit new highs. And it's hitting new highs again. So I'm toying with the idea of taking some profits off the table here in the Swissy. That's what I'm thinking. If you guys are wondering what my pause is all about, it's like I know we're climbing right into resistance here. So it's like, as much as I feel it's going to break higher because I feel that gold's going to break down, I'm just, not sure I want to carry it. And the dollar again continued to rally too. Let's take a look at bonds. See, bonds haven't even started moving yet, which is crazy. Bonds had a big rejection here. If you guys did, like watching the 10-year, big rejection, right? So, it's like I want to take profits, but I don't have a big enough position. So I have all my sizes are about half sizes. So if I take off, even though I've got a lot of pairs, I'm long dollar yen, dollar Swiss, short pound, short Aussie, Kiwi. All right, I took some off the table here. That is 90 pips. Okay. I haven't taken off any of the dollar yen. The dollar yen, I actually want to stay pretty long. I might take some off if we get over here to 70. The pound's nearing lows on the day. Pound's almost at new lows. All right. I took a little bit of pound profits. It's 125 pips. Okay. I want to keep my dollar yen. I want to keep my Aussie and the Kiwi too. Because if stocks actually roll over, gold breaks down, I want to have that exposure. Okay, that's good enough for now. All right, what am I at? What am I doing? Let's go over to the Aussie. Okay, so here's the Aussie. The like I said, the RBA met yesterday, and they kept rates unchanged as expected, and there was like no fireworks whatsoever. So key resistance is at 77 cents. Support again is 75.65, and actually we'll probably hit support before then. But like, oh, watch gold. Oh shoot, uh, gold. Crap, man. Crap, man. Batman. Fat man. This gold's getting close. We're just a few points from breaking down. See, I don't want to take too much of my dollars off the table right now because if gold breaks, the dollar is going to start ripping. Lacker's comments, just a strong case for Fed funds rate hike. It says preemptive rate hike critical for stable inflation. Okay, sorry. Let's go back over the Aussie. We'll watch gold. Okay, so 76 and then 75.65. So 75.65, 76, 77. That's key. And we are in a range here in the Aussie. Let's go over to the dollar index. Oops. Let's put that in a candle. There's the dollar index breaking higher. We are obviously challenging resistance right now, which 96.32. We're there almost. 96.32. Hold on really quick. Let me double check something. So there's our fib. Let's go over to a 4-hour. So beyond that, if we can crack these highs, 96.72 would be next. And you gotta think about that possibility, especially if gold breaks down. And we are having a bullish breakout. We're in a range, but it will just be bullish for today because we're coming out of this triangle and making our way higher. let's go back to the dollar index to figure out where that support is. So now any dip down to 96 is going to be very well supported. Just think about that today. Now remember, we don't have any data coming out today. These moves are all based on, you know, what's happening in gold, bonds, stocks. Okay. Let's go over to the peso. This dollar yen's so strong. Okay, peso, we are trapped here between the 38% retracement and this old breakout point, which, you know, the old breakout point's right there. Okay, so 1950 and 15. So 1915, 1950 should be pretty good resistance on the way back up. We're in a range. Now, you guys got to watch these Nordic currencies. So the US dollar, Norwegian krona, okay. The US dollar, Norwegian krona is, we created this like spinning top hammer off of this support, okay. Now check this out. I gotta zoom out a little bit here. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Now my colleagues at Forex Analytics, they're extremely bullish on the Norwegian krona, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been bullish for the last, you know, since mid summer. We've come down from 850 to 8. All right. The problem that we have here right now is that we created a false breakdown, possibly yesterday. If we break back above 80, what's the high today? 801.46. If we crack back above 802, should be right over here. 803 actually. If we break back above 803, this thing's gonna rip. Because see, we might have made a false breakdown, and when you make a false breakdown like that, potential of a, you know, reversal is really good. So the low 944.40. So I'm going to write down 944.50. 7.9450. That's it. Okay. And we're bearish, but we'll be threatening to go back into the range here. Man, gold is just crack-a-lacking. US dollar, Swedish krona. We are at major resistance. We're still 850, and I'm going to write down 850 to 863. Okay. If we break 863, 850, 8.63. If we break 863, look out. And I have to show you this chart for those of you that don't normally watch this bad boy. This is the US dollar, Swedish krona. Okay. And let me get rid of that for a second. So you can see we're right up against resistance. We break that, and see, I may be drawing this trend line. I may be drawing it incorrectly. It could be like this: wick, wick, false break, false break. It could be major. So you know, watch out if we start crack-a-lacking higher here. I mean, it could be a really, really bullish move. if we break above 860 863. Anyway, just keep an eye on it, guys. It's threatening. Okay. Okay, your bias chart's done. Finished. Look at gold. Holy crap.